Hello, everyone, and welcome to MeowMix, the Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
All right, it's time to talk Los Angeles Chargers hosting the Carolina Panthers in, like you said, that brand new, beautiful stadium. Jerry, what do you believe that the betting line for this game would be?
I have not checked yet. I am going to guess 3.5 Chargers.
You would be wrong.
Well, I didn't expect me to nail it on the head there.
You would be wrong. It is Chargers by 6.5.
Woo!
Almost a full touchdown. Now, you got to remember, traveling cross-country, away game, typically you get 3 points for being the home.
And the Chargers just took the Chiefs to overtime. So that's fresh in people's mind.
It's a little surprising to me that it's that high with Herbert coming in, but he looked better than Tyrod has looked.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think
far,
that offense is more dynamic with him in there because he can stretch the field with his arm a little bit more than Tyrod can.
Yeah, well, we're going to see plenty of that, I'm sure. But before we get into the breakdown of the game, let's talk about the injury report real quick. I'll start with the Panthers. Dennis Daly, K1 Short, both did not practice as of Wednesday. I think Daly's probably out again. Matt Rule said today that he hopes K1 plays, but he's not sure. They said last week they thought K1 would play, and he did not. So I would not count on him playing. Brian Burns, Gross Matos, and John Miller all limited at practice. Sounds like Gross Matos is progressing well in the concussion protocol. I would imagine he will probably be back. I don't think there's anything truly wrong with Burns either.
No,
so
he got kicked in the thigh during practice today or yesterday, and he had to sit out a couple plays while it healed, and then he was back practicing fine.
Okay, they shouldn't even list him on the report then. All right, let's talk about the Chargers. As far as the did not practice folks, Asmar Bilal, linebacker, Justin Jackson, running back, Justin Jones, defensive tackle, Tyrod Taylor, we already spoke about, and then Nick Vigil, I don't know, linebacker. None of those guys practiced. Limited practice is Brian Bulaga, Hunter Henry, their tight end, Melvin Ingram. He was full practice, Melvin Ingram. Rayshon Jenkins and Desmond King, both secondary players there. And then Joey Bosa also listed on the injury report, but as a full participant in practice. So some big names on their injury report, but it looks like really Tyrod Taylor, kind of the main guy that's definitely not going to play. Not really sure about the status of the other guys, but
I think Joey Bosa and Melvin Ingram on here would be kind of exciting because I am terrified of that duo, but they're both full practice, so I expect them out there to terrorize.
They're the only two that are
Teddy.
both listed as full practice. So
yeah.
Hunter Henry missing practice or missing the game, I think would also be pretty significant just because, the rookie quarterbacks love to rely on the tight end as a safety valve, and Hunter Henry's a good one.
And Tahir Whitehead can't cover anything, so. Oh.
Yeah, and that's really something that we can kind of kick our discussion off there. The Chargers have an excellent pass-catching running back in Austin Eckler. And they've got another one in, Jeremy Kelly? Joshua Kelly, rookie, who it looks like they're kind of splitting carries there, although they're both producing quite well. But Austin Eckler, I would expect him to have a big game against the Panthers secondary and front line, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody that we've gone up against so far has sort of torn us up in the rushing game.
Well,
even though we were better against the Bucs last week, we just gave up big plays.
Derek Brown ranked 116 out of 117 defensive tackles rated in PFF scored.
So you're saying he's not last.
115th was Bravian Roy our other rookie defensive
Yeah.
tackle. So, yeah, they're just punching us straight through the gut. And they're able to do it, it looks like. So,
Yeah.
hopefully, I'm really hoping Phil Snow can shore this up and figure it out.
I hope so, because if not, this is going to be a long season.
Mhm.
None of our interior defensive linemen are ranked above 75th out of that position group. And this is PFF, Pro Football Focus ratings. On the good side of the defense, though, Brian Burns is being fairly highly rated.
Oh, yeah.
Edge rushers, 15th out of 105.
He's ranked in the top 10 for one-on-one battles for pass rushing. So let's quit dropping him in coverage, even though he has a decent coverage.
I was going to say, you could say quit dropping him in coverage. He's like elite in coverage at his position. So,
yeah, well.
But that's something we expected of him because he's got that sort of hybrid type talent, right? He can do multiple things.
Yeah, but let's be honest. We have 0 sacks in 2 games.
We brought him in. Yeah, we brought him in to rush the quarterback.
And since no one else is assisting in that territory right now, just let him loose. Just let him go after him almost every play.
Yeah, F.A. Obata ranked 104 out of 105. Maybe there was a reason he didn't make the initial roster.
Oh, man. This defense, their rankings are awful. I mean,
it's bad. It's bad.
I guess giving up 30-plus games in 2 games is part of that. But one bright spot, Razoo Douglas.
Yeah. 10th out of 108 at corner. And he, last week, I think, was like 9th or something. So he had another very good game in coverage. And, yeah, I think that was a great pickup for the Panthers. And, another surprise is Dante Jackson's 37th, which isn't terrible. I mean, that's a high-end second corner.
Yeah.
If you're saying Rasul Douglas is our number 1 corner.
Our secondary overall is kind of surprising because, like you said, Dante is 37th and Rasul Douglas is 10th. Trey Boston and Justin Burris ranked 75th and 76th out of 76 safeties ranked.
Yeah, you don't get any worse than that.
I mean, come on. Yeah. I know Trey Boston, dude. Like, we thought you were going to be the linchpin of that secondary, and right now it's.
Yeah, I mean, we had high hopes for both of those guys.
I don't know if he's just like overthinking it because he has so many young players trying to get people in position, or.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe he's pressing or something. Just knowing that the rest of our defense is, pretty terrible. And Jeremy Chen is ranked 66 out of 76. They have him ranked as a safety. I wonder if they had him as a linebacker or something else, if he'd be ranked higher, because he's been pretty widely getting praised for his play on the field. So I'm a little surprised that he's that low.
I am too, and I agree. I think he's more of a linebacker the way we've used him.
Yeah.
Tahir Whitehead, 76 out of 76 linebackers. I'm sure he's way better than that. So
maybe not. I mean, he's terrible in coverage and he's pretty bad in every other aspect. So
no. I said Jeremy Chen would be ranked higher.
Oh, you said Tahir Whitehead was 76 out of 76.
Yeah, he was, but I'm said Jeremy Chen.
Oh, you're saying Jeremy Chen would be better than that? Okay.
Gotcha. He'd rank out a lot better.
Yeah, for sure. Tahir Whitehead and Shaq Thompson, neither very high. Tahir Whitehead, as we said, the last linebacker, and then Shaq is 49th out of 76. So, maybe we should stop just talking about these numbers. But what we're trying to say here is that the defense has not looked good. And I was actually looking earlier, and we are ranked 27 out of the 32 teams in points allowed this year.
Wow.
Yeah.
27th? There's 5 teams that have allowed more points?
Yeah. And we are only 20th in points scored. So that's not a good combination.
Yeah, well, it's only been 2 games. Let's look in the break.
I know.
The offense struggled last week, but they didn't struggle week 1 against Oakland. And Oakland did a really good job against New Orleans last week. So
I was going to say, Oakland's a sneaky good team.
Yeah. And Tampa Bay is expected to be a really good team. So we may have come up against two really good teams and hung in there to a certain point. I mean, Tampa, we clawed our way back into it for a split second and then Leonard Fournette. But maybe we just need to shape the defense a little bit more. Teddy Bridgewater needs to not turn the ball over, get his head on straight a little bit more, and, get familiar with everybody. Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, you keep doing what you guys are doing.
Continue what you're doing, yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at the Chargers, they are 1-1 coming into this game. Mm-hmm. They beat the Bengals 16-13 in week 1, and that game really came down to the final play. I think a missed field goal from the Bengals.
Yeah. That should have either gone the Bengals' way or at least gone into overtime.
Yeah. And then last week looked really good against the Chiefs and took the Chiefs down to like the final minute of overtime and lost 23-20. And honestly, did you see how that game ended?
Yeah, I watched the whole
Harrison
game.
Butker. Mm-hmm. So Harrison Butker had to basically make 3 50-plus yard field goals in a row. Made the first one as a 53-yarder, but there was an offensive penalty. So they backed him up 5 yards. Then he hit a 58-yarder at Andy Reid Anthony Lynn had called a timeout. And then he hit another 58-yarder. And all 3 of them, just no doubt. They didn't sneak in. They weren't wobbly. They were just perfect. And he should be a Panther.
I knew that's where you're going. I was going to talk about the Los Angeles Chargers. It was tied up. They drove down the length of the field in the fourth quarter. Mm-hmm. They were in the red zone, and they just could not get the ball in and opted for the field goal. And it just, as soon as they did that, it was like, you just gave Patrick Mahomes 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And you just assumed that he was going to go score. But that defense locked him up enough to force it into overtime, which shocked me. Yeah. But then again, once they got it in overtime, you knew who was going to
in overtime, too. I mean, the Chargers had the ball, were moving down the field, got stopped, and then it was like a 4th and 2 or 4th and 3 around midfield, and they chose to punt and give the ball to Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And that was that bad move. You always, if you want to get Mahomes and all he needs is one score, you got to keep that ball.
Anthony Lynn is a very conservative coach. He is in that Ron Rivera, John Fox type coaching mentality of defense and run the ball. So it'll be very interesting. I think one of our keys to the game will be stopping that run. If you could stop the run, which unfortunately the Panthers really have struggled with this year, I think we stand a good chance if we could stop the run. Pressure, rookie Herbert, and stopping the run.
Yeah, the Chargers, even outside of their running backs, they have a pretty good team. They've got Hunter Henry, like we talked about. Keenan Allen, just signed a big deal, is a really good wide receiver. They've got Mike Williams, who is often injured, but when he's on the field is usually a pretty good wide receiver. So they've got weapons sort of everywhere.
Yeah, I would consider Keenan Allen an elite receiver. It's just such a quiet elite receiver that you don't hear about him. He plays for the Chargers, but man, he always is out there balling.
Very underrated. And I think he's very well respected, but he's not mentioned in that same group as Julio Jones and DeAndre Hopkins and Odell Beckham, but I think he's like right there. Mm-hmm. Maybe not at the highest level of those guys, but he's right there. He should be mentioned. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And they've got a good defense as well.
Oh, yeah.
They held the Chiefs to 23 points in overtime, and they held the Bengals to 13 points with Joe Burrow, who, threw 61 times last week and put up some good numbers last week. So this is going to be a tough one, I think.
I think it's going to be a really tough one. Like you said, they have a really good defense. I mean, I was watching that game last week, and I was just, looking at their defenses so scared for our offensive line because they struggled last week against Tampa Bay. And the Chargers defense pass rush looks better, to be honest with you.
They're better, yeah. And to me, the key to this game, if the Panthers are going to win this game, they're going to have to turn Herbert over.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have to force Herbert to make mistakes. And they're going to have to score. I mean, the Panthers are going to have to score every time they have the ball, preferably touchdowns every time they have the ball. They're going to have to really force Herbert to win the game. That, to me, that's the key. And then hope that he makes mistakes or force him into making mistakes. I don't see how we win otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how this team can win without causing turnovers, and really, I still go back to stopping the run if that's possible against Eckler. But
yeah, and hey, we may sound negative about this, but I mean, our best player is not going to play.
Mm-hmm.
We're going across country for the first time with the Matt Rule era, and we're going against a team that's pretty good.
Yeah,
I would put them in the upper third of the league in terms of where I expect them to be at the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't expect them to win the AFC West because the Chiefs are there, but I would not be surprised if them and Oakland are in the wild card hunt.
Yeah, I fully expect the Chargers to make the. I mean, we got 7 wild card teams now, so yeah. I fully expect the Chargers to make it. All
7 playoff teams, not 7 wild cards.
7 playoff teams, correct. Correct. 7 wild card teams would be interesting, though.
We have a chance then.
I don't know. All right. Well, let's. You want to go to some predictions?
I do.
Of the bold type, perhaps.
Go ahead.
All right. I got 2.
Name one.
And I'm trying to decide if I want to do the positive one or the negative one.
Do the positive, man.
I'm going for the positive one. All right. I think for the 3rd straight game in a row, Robbie Anderson will go above 100 yards. I think he's actually going to have a massive game in this one. I think he goes over 150, 2 touchdowns, and leads us to a respectable outcome in this game.
I am going to say I agree with that. I think DJ Moore breaks 100 too. I think both will go over 100.
Both of them.
But that's not going to be my bold prediction. My bold prediction is we hold Austin Eckler for under 100 yards.
Total
yards. Mm-hmm.
Wow. I thought you were going to say we get 1 sack.
I thought about that.
Because that would be bold at this point.
Right,
I do actually think we finally get a sack in this game.
I do too. I think we rattle Herbert a little bit. I think he was lucky in the fact that he didn't know he was going to start until game time.
Mm-hmm.
That way he didn't have to get into his own head. It was just like, hey, you're starting, and then you're out there. At that point, you're just playing a game. I mean,
yeah, I heard somebody say something very similar to that this week, and sort of talked about Herbert, and there was a reason why a lot of people didn't think he was ready to be in the NFL, and I'm hoping that we see that this week when he has time to get into his own head.
Actually, you know what? I want to change my prediction.
Oh.
My bold prediction, I think we could make him turn the ball over 3 times.
Oh, all right. That's bold. That's real bold. Does Douglas get an interception in this game?
I don't know how it's going to happen, whether it's going to be a sack fumble and 2 interceptions. Specific. I don't know.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'd love that. That. Okay. So that's your new prediction.
Because honestly, that Eckler one, I was like nervous, really, not really feeling it. But that I feel better about.
I was maybe going to consider a beer bet with you on that one. Let's do a beer bet. Total sacks for the Panthers in this game, and I'll set it at 1.5. Over under.
I'll take the over. I want to be positive here. I think, like I said, sack fumble is going to happen, so that's going to be 1.
Okay.
And I could see us getting another one.
Okay, I'll take the under on it. Maybe I should have said it at 2.5. Beer bet of the week. All right. 1 sack or more, or 1 sack or less, and I win, and 2 sacks or more, you win. Okay. let's do our game predictions. I'm going to let you kick this one off. Final score prediction.
Final score prediction. I am, with my 3 turnovers, we squeak out a victory at 24-27.
Look at you. This is the first game of the year that I'm going to predict a Panthers loss, unfortunately. I think that we hang tough in this game, but ultimately I think it goes very similar to last week, and we end up losing like 35-24 or something. I think it's going to be a pretty it's going to kind of get out of hand towards the end. But I hope that your prediction comes true.
I do too.
Because we are all Panthers fans here. Just a lot going against this team this year, you know, and some of it by design.
Yeah. I mean, again, we knew this team was going to be a transitional team anyways. I mean, the
and
way
rebuilding's not a bad word, guys. It's not a bad word. It's just accurate. You know? All right, let's wrap this up.
Oh, I forgot to grab my paper. We want to thank everyone for listening. You can follow us on Twitter at MeowMix Podcast. If you have any questions or comments, you can email us at mailbag@meowmixpodcast.com. If you give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, we'll read your comment on the air.
Yeah, everyone, we will be back on Sunday evening. I'll try to get the podcast up on Sunday with our recap of the game and our thoughts about everything that happened. So until then, everybody stay safe and keep pounding.